Okay, in this video we're going to be looking at the UIL Copy Editing contest. This is good to review before any UIL copy editing competitions for journalism, or just a good review of some copy editing rules and things to remember. First of all, let's start with the word, just in case you don't know. Copy editing is a little confusing sometimes for people if you're new to the journalism world. In journalism, we call text copy. This is another word for what we call text. So it's just talking about editing words. Let's take a quick look overall at the copy editing test. And we're going to go down from this cover page here, and we're going to look at the actual copy editing contest. The first page of the contest will look something like this. This is more like the kind of test you might be used to for English class, state tests, everything like that. And it's going to give you directions, and it says that the test is divided into 3 sections, and you have to write all your responses, and then you have 15 minutes. So it's a quick one. So these are going to look for a few things on this test. They're going to look for if you know the difference between commonly confused words. That's like this question here where you've got which one is it correct here, principal or principal. The editor said we should go interview the principal or the principal. Which one's the person and which one means idea? It would obviously be right here about the policy. You've got more commonly confused words here, here, here. All the way down here you can start to see commonly confused words all the way through. So a large portion of what you're looking at on this prompt is knowing your commonly confused words. The nice thing is a quick Google search will bring up plenty of websites that show you most of these commonly confused words. This one has like the top 30 that you might see, and then down here it really goes through them. So this is a great thing to review before you take that test. It's just to have those in your head, because you are going to see some of those commonly confused words. The other thing that you're going to see a lot are AP style guide questions. And these are questions based on, do you know the basic rules of the AP style guide, Associated Press style guide? Now, the AP style guide is a really thick reference book that has lots and lots of rules and details. You do not have to know everything for these copy editing tests, but there are some that occur a lot that you really need to understand the rules for. And that includes how we handle numbers, how we handle dates or years, and how we handle times in journalism. Because journalism has very specific rules about this, and these are some of the rules that you just need to know. Out of that whole thick style guide, you really need to know the rules about these things. Just a quick refresher on numbers. One of the main rules is that we always spell out the word 1 through 10. On those numbers, you spell out the word 1, 2, TWO, all that. And then for anything above 10, you use the numerals, 11, 12, 13. So that's a rule that you definitely need to know, because you will likely see that. For dates, you need to know how to abbreviate the months. Usually, if the month has 5 letters or more in it, there's an abbreviation for it. If there's not more than 5 or more than 4, there's not an abbreviation for it. You need to look at that, make sure you understand that. And another one that trips people up is whenever we do the day of the month, it's always without the TH or the RD. So it would be November 15, not November 15th. So you want to make sure you know those rules. There's also some rules on years that you need to know. So make sure to look at those style guide videos for that and review that information before the test. You'll also see questions about times, and you'll need to know those rules. You'll also see stuff about ages sometimes, so you'll need to know those rules. But that usually follows these number rules as well, but there's some things about that could be helpful as well. In addition to that, there's just some common grammar questions, so you need to be a real grammarian. You need to know the difference between less and fewer. You need to know the difference between one another, each other, is, are, whoever, and whomever. When to capitalize proper nouns, and when the same word should not be capitalized if they're not proper nouns. Those normal grammar things are things you should probably already know, especially if you're competing in the copy editing contest. Generally, people who like grammar become copy editors, and those are the things that they need to pay attention to. So really, those commonly confused words and the AP style guide, particularly numbers, dates, and times, if you'll review those things, you'll be in good shape. So it said there are 3 sections to this test, so let's go down and look at the next section. The next section, you're asked to edit the following sentences to eliminate 4 errors in wordiness, as well as any errors in AP style, grammar, spelling, or punctuation in each of the 5 items. Items, not atoms. Use clearly understood editing symbols. So they're looking for the same kind of skills as they looked for above, but now it's a little more open-ended. They're giving you the chance to edit this using journalism style. This is really what makes or breaks you, because you need to understand, how do we do quotes in journalism? How are things structured? How do we use the AP style guide and all that? And you're looking for 4 errors in all of them. And you're also asked to edit for wordiness and those kinds of things. So this is what these corrected answers look like. They're asking you to use common symbols for editing, and you can see some of those here. You need to understand those so that you can edit the correct way. But they're editing for wordiness. They're editing for spelling errors and those kinds of things. They're asking you to remove things that need to be removed, capitalize things that need to be capitalized, insert punctuation, and all of those things. So a quick rundown of some of these copy symbols. A strike through like this means to remove something. This circle means that needs to be changed, because we know that anything above 10 we use numerals for, so that's what it's indicating there. On this one, it's showing that metals with a T was spelled, so they used a little correction bar here to show metals. Again, here, same thing with gymnast. All right. Again, there's third. We would want to spell out third. That's another AP style guide rule. We don't do that. We do that. Here's another example of eliminating unnecessary wording. They fixed that 3 in 3 years old. They fixed that because that should be a numeral when we talk about age. So there's always an exception to the rule, so you need to know that. And then this is unnecessary wording here. Then you're looking for accuracy as well in the names and dates there. This little guy right here is an insert symbol, and it's telling us to insert a comma there. Here they're inserting a question mark. If a letter is lowercase but it needs to be capitalized, you do 3 lines under it. If a letter is capital and it needs to be lowercase, you do 1 line through it like this, and that tells you, hey, that needs to be capitalized. I mean lowercase. You can use these little insert marks too to insert a specific letter. And then there's this symbol down here. Whenever you see this, that means to switch those 2 items. So in this case, it's saying put the period in here and the quotation marks out here. So you can do that with whole words if you wanted. You could say, okay, greatly so instead of so greatly. That's what that symbol means as well. So you need to be familiar with some of these editing symbols and all those rules to be able to do this well. And one of the keys is, look, they're telling the judges here, information right here, there are 4 errors per item. So you need to pay attention to that. Make sure you're catching all of those errors. The last part of the copy editing test is part 3 here. This is what they use as the tiebreaker. So they're going to look at those first 2 pages first, and they're going to separate the good from the great. And then they're going to look at those great ones, and they're going to look at this third piece and see how they do on that. And in this one, they really open it up. They're wanting to see how you are as a copy editor, how you would fix this as a journalist and make it better. Even in this short piece, there's a lot of copy editing that can be done. And again, you're using those copy editing symbols, and you're showing your knowledge of that. And a response looks something like this. They're really testing you full out. They're looking to see you catch as many of those AP style guide errors, structural errors right here. There were 2 quotes stacked, so they said that they needed a transition here. That's right on. and they're even moving stuff around to make it stronger. And they have tips and reminders for judges over here that I think it's really good for you as a competitor to know as well. They are looking holistically at your changes. That means they're looking at all the changes together, and they remind the judges that there's really 3 levels of copy editing. The highest level, are there any legal or ethical issues within the story, and making sure those are fixed. The middle level, does the story use the right sources, and how does that story flow? And the lowest level is grammar, spelling, and punctuation style. So you've got to get that down. And if you can do some things to help that flow, or the accuracy or the right sources of the story, that's great. A lot of times you'll see this. If you can really do this in this competition quite a bit. And then, are there any legal or ethical issues with the story? If you see something that you're like uneasy about, make a note about it. That could be something that really gets you to stand out above the other competitors. So that's the copy editing test. Good luck.